Ma'am, we received a noise complaint from this address.
I'm a federal judge. I've been asleep for 2 hours. You don't have a warrant, and I'm not consenting to entry.
I don't care what you claim to be. Open this door right now or I'm forcing entry.
You're being recorded. You're violating the Fourth Amendment.
Leave my property immediately.
Ma'am, step outside. We received a noise complaint. The demand came through a cracked door at 12:47 a.m. in a quiet residential neighborhood in Richmond, Virginia. The woman standing in her doorway, wearing pajamas and holding a phone, had not made noise, had not called police, had not opened her door willingly. The officer standing on her porch had entered her gated property without permission, walked past her security cameras, and was now demanding entry to her home based on an anonymous complaint that would later prove false. What the officer didn't know, what he didn't bother to verify before escalating, was that the woman he was confronting was the Honorable Dr. Diane Richardson, a United States District Court judge for the Eastern District of Virginia, a woman who had spent 23 years as a prosecutor and judge, who understood constitutional law with precision that most law enforcement could never match, and who had her doorbell camera recording every moment of what was about to become a $1.6 million lesson in Fourth Amendment violations. Before we continue, subscribe if this is your first time here. These cases need documentation. Your support ensures accountability reaches the people who need to see it. Thursday, May 11, 2023. 12:43 a.m. Residence of Judge Diane Richardson, Windsor Farms neighborhood, Richmond, Virginia. The night was quiet, temperature 68 degrees, no wind. The neighborhood was affluent, gated with large homes set back from tree-lined streets. Crime was virtually non-existent. Patrol presence was rare. Judge Richardson had been asleep for 2 hours when her doorbell camera motion alert sounded on her phone. She woke, checked the screen, and saw a Richmond Police Patrol car parked in her driveway. An officer was walking toward her front door. She got out of bed, confused. She hadn't called police, hadn't heard any disturbance. She grabbed her phone, opened the doorbell camera app to record, and walked downstairs. Officer Brandon Walsh, 28 years old, 4 years with Richmond PD, stood on her porch. His body camera was active, recording timestamp and location. He pressed the doorbell at 12:44 a.m. Judge Richardson opened the door partially, keeping the security chain engaged. "Can I help you?" Walsh shone his flashlight at her face. "Ma'am, we received a noise complaint from this address. I need to come inside and investigate." "A noise complaint?" Judge Richardson's voice carried the precision of someone accustomed to courtroom discourse. "I've been asleep for 2 hours. There's no noise here." "I still need to verify that," Walsh said. "Open the door." "No," Judge Richardson said firmly. "You don't have a warrant. You don't have probable cause. You don't have permission to enter. What's your badge number?" Walsh's expression hardened. The doorbell camera captured it clearly. The shift from routine inquiry to confrontation. "Ma'am, I'm conducting an official investigation. You need to cooperate." "I am cooperating," Judge Richardson said, her voice calm but carrying authority. "I'm telling you there's no disturbance here. I'm telling you I didn't call police. I'm telling you that you don't have legal authority to enter my home without a warrant, exigent circumstances, or consent. I'm not giving consent." The doorbell camera recorded Walsh stepping closer to the door, his hand moving to the door frame. "Ma'am, if you don't open this door, I'll assume you're hiding something. That gives me probable cause to enter." "That's not how probable cause works," Judge Richardson said. "Refusing to consent to a search doesn't create suspicion. That's established Supreme Court precedent. Bailey versus United States. I'm a federal judge. I know the law. You need to leave my property." Walsh paused. The camera captured his face clearly. Confusion, irritation, disbelief. "You're a what?" "A United States District Court judge," Judge Richardson repeated. "And you're currently violating my Fourth Amendment rights. I'm ordering you to leave my property immediately." Walsh didn't leave. Instead, he keyed his radio. "I need a supervisor to my location. Resident is being non-compliant with investigation." "Non-compliant?" Judge Richardson's voice rose slightly. I'm asserting my constitutional rights. That's not non-compliance. That's exactly what those rights exist for. Through the cracked door, Walsh could see Judge Richardson holding her phone, the screen displaying the doorbell camera feed. "You're being recorded," she said. "Everything you're doing is being recorded. Leave now or this becomes a federal civil rights case." Walsh's hand moved to the door. He pushed against it, testing the security chain. "Ma'am, open the door or I'll force entry." "On what legal basis?" Judge Richardson demanded. "What crime do you suspect? What exigent circumstances exist? What probable cause do you have beyond an anonymous complaint?" "The complaint is enough," Walsh said. "It's absolutely not," Judge Richardson said. "You need articulable facts suggesting criminal activity or immediate danger. You have neither. You're about to violate clearly established constitutional law." Walsh pushed harder against the door. The security chain held, but the pressure was clear. "Intentional. Aggressive. Last chance," Walsh said. "Open the door." Judge Richardson stepped back, her phone recording everything. "I'm calling my attorney. Leave my property now." Walsh pushed harder. The door frame creaked. The doorbell camera captured what happened next with perfect clarity. Walsh stepped back from the door, assessing the security chain. He keyed his radio again. "Dispatch, I need backup at this location. Resident refusing to cooperate with noise complaint investigation." The dispatcher's response came through clearly. "Copy. Backup en route. ETA 4 minutes." Judge Richardson's voice came from inside, still calm but urgent. "I'm calling 911 to report an officer attempting illegal entry to my home." Walsh heard her. His body camera recorded his response. "Ma'am, you don't need to call 911. I am the police." "You're not acting like police," Judge Richardson said. "You're acting like someone violating the Constitution." A second patrol car arrived at 12:51 a.m. Officer Maria Santos emerged, her body camera activating as she approached the porch. Walsh briefed her quickly, his voice low but audible on both cameras. "Noise complaint. Resident won't let me verify. Claims she's a federal judge. Being difficult." Santos approached the door. Judge Richardson still stood inside, visible through the crack, her phone recording. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Santos. Can you please open the door so we can resolve this?" "There's nothing to resolve," Judge Richardson said. "I didn't make noise. No one complained about noise from my address. Check your dispatch log. This is a mistake or a false report. Either way, you don't have authority to enter. We just need to verify there's no disturbance," Santos said, her tone more measured than Walsh's. "You can verify by leaving," Judge Richardson said. "My refusal to consent is not suspicious. It's my constitutional right." Walsh moved to the side of the porch, looking through a window into Judge Richardson's living room. The doorbell camera captured it, his flashlight shining through glass, his hand testing the window frame. "Officer, what are you doing?" Judge Richardson called out. "That's my window. You don't have permission to look through my windows." "I'm investigating a complaint," Walsh said. "By peering into my home?" Judge Richardson's legal training crystallized into precise language. "That's a warrantless search. You're violating my reasonable expectation of privacy. This entire interaction is illegal." Santos tried a different approach. "Ma'am, if you just let us take a quick look inside, we can verify everything's fine and leave." "No," Judge Richardson said. "That's not how this works. The Fourth Amendment doesn't have a convenience exception. You need a warrant or exigent circumstances. You have neither." Walsh returned to the front door. His patience was gone. The body camera captured his expression shifting from irritation to determination. "Ma'am, I'm giving you one final opportunity to open this door voluntarily. If you don't, I'm entering by force under my authority to investigate potential criminal activity." "What criminal activity?" Judge Richardson demanded. "Name the crime you suspect." "Obstruction of justice," Walsh said. "Asserting constitutional rights isn't obstruction," Judge Richardson said. "That's Hoffa versus United States. That's established law. You're about to commit a federal crime. Walsh grabbed the door handle, pulling hard. The security chain held. He pulled harder, the metal straining. Judge Richardson stepped further back, her voice rising. You're forcing entry into my home without a warrant. I'm a federal judge. You're being recorded. Stop immediately. Walsh braced his foot against the door frame and pulled with full force. The security chain mounting screws ripped from the wood. The door flew open. Walsh stumbled backward from the sudden release, catching his balance on the porch railing. Judge Richardson stood in her foyer, phone recording. Her expression a mixture of disbelief and controlled fury. You just forced entry into a federal judge's home without a warrant, she said, her voice ice cold. I hope you understand what you've done. Walsh entered the home, his body camera recording every step. Santos followed, her camera capturing the same. We're securing the premises, Walsh said. Judge Richardson didn't move, didn't resist. She held her phone, recording, her legal mind cataloging every violation for the lawsuit she was already constructing. Judge Diane Richardson wasn't just any federal judge. Her credentials made the warrantless entry even more indefensible. Born in Norfolk, Virginia in 1968. Graduated summa cum laude from University of Virginia School of Law in 1993. Served as Assistant United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia for 12 years, prosecuting federal crimes including civil rights violations by law enforcement. Appointed to the federal bench in 2012 by President Obama. Confirmed by the Senate 94-2. Specialized in criminal procedure and constitutional law. She'd written opinions on Fourth Amendment cases. Had suppressed evidence obtained through warrantless searches. Had lectured at FBI training sessions on legal standards for home entries. Her judicial chambers were 15 minutes from her house. Her nameplate read Honorable Diane Richardson, U.S. District Judge. Her decisions were published in federal reporters, cited by other courts, taught in law schools. She'd spent her career holding law enforcement accountable to constitutional standards. She understood probable cause, exigent circumstances, qualified immunity, and every legal doctrine Walsh should have known before forcing entry. Walsh hadn't asked her occupation, hadn't verified the noise complaint, hadn't checked whether the address matched the complaint, hadn't consulted a supervisor about forcing entry to a residence based solely on an anonymous tip. He'd seen a black woman in her pajamas refusing entry and decided force was appropriate. Her credentials didn't matter because he never asked. Her legal knowledge didn't matter because he didn't listen. Her judicial authority didn't matter because he didn't believe a black woman in pajamas could be a federal judge. The assumption cost him everything. Because Judge Richardson knew exactly what laws he'd broken, exactly what evidence she needed, and exactly how to ensure accountability. Walsh and Santos spent 8 minutes inside Judge Richardson's home. Their body cameras recorded everything. The living room, quiet, clean, no evidence of disturbance. The kitchen, empty, lights off. The upstairs hallway, bedrooms dark. No occupants except the judge. There was no noise, no party, no disturbance, no crime, nothing that could justify forced entry. At 1:04 a.m., Walsh's supervisor, Sergeant David Price, arrived. Judge Richardson met him at her broken door, her phone still recording. Sergeant, your officers forced entry into my home without a warrant, without probable cause, and without exigent circumstances. I'm a United States District Court judge. I want their names, badge numbers, and a written report explaining the legal basis for this entry. Price's expression shifted from routine response to alarm. You're a federal judge? Yes, Judge Richardson said. The Honorable Diane Richardson, Eastern District of Virginia. And your officers just violated clearly established Fourth Amendment law. Price called the officers outside. Their conversation, captured on body cameras, was devastating. She's a federal judge? Price's voice was strained. You forced entry into a federal judge's home? She wouldn't open the door, Walsh said defensively. Did you have a warrant? No, but did you have probable cause? The noise complaint. Did you verify the complaint? Did you confirm the address? Silence. Price reviewed the dispatch log on his mobile terminal. His face paled. The noise complaint had come from a different address 3 blocks away. A neighbor dispute, already resolved before Walsh arrived. Walsh had responded to the wrong house. He'd forced entry into a federal judge's home based on a complaint that wasn't even about her address. The doorbell camera footage showed everything from outside. The body cameras showed everything from inside. Judge Richardson's phone recording captured audio throughout. The dispatch records proved the address error. The evidence wasn't just overwhelming. It was perfect. Every violation documented. Every moment preserved. Every legal error captured by multiple sources. The lawsuit, Richardson v. Walsh, Santos, City of Richmond, was filed in Judge Richardson's own court, then immediately transferred to another district to avoid any appearance of bias. The complaint was surgical. Violation of Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure. Warrantless entry without probable cause or exigent circumstances. Trespass. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Violation of clearly established constitutional law precluding qualified immunity. The evidence was devastating because it came from the officer's own cameras. Walsh's body camera showed him forcing the door after Judge Richardson repeatedly asserted her rights, cited case law, and identified herself as a federal judge. It showed him entering without legal justification. It showed him finding nothing that could justify the entry. Santos's body camera corroborated everything. The illegal entry, the fruitless search, the absence of any disturbance. The doorbell camera provided an independent record. Judge Richardson's calm assertions of constitutional rights. Walsh's escalating aggression. The door being forced. The dispatch records proved Walsh responded to the wrong address. The noise complaint was 3 blocks away, already resolved. Walsh had never verified the address before forcing entry. Walsh's deposition destroyed any remaining defense. Did you have a warrant to enter Judge Richardson's home? No. Did you have probable cause to believe a crime was being committed? I had a noise complaint. Did you verify that the noise complaint was about that specific address? Long pause. No. Did Judge Richardson tell you she was a federal judge? Yes. Did that change your assessment of the situation? No. I thought she was lying. You thought a black woman in an affluent neighborhood claiming to be a federal judge was lying? I'd never met a federal judge before. That statement, captured in the deposition, became the cornerstone of the case. Implicit bias so clear it required no expert testimony. The case settled after mediation. The city's insurance carrier recognized the exposure. Federal judge. Perfect video evidence. Admission of failure to verify. Wrong address. No qualified immunity because the law was clearly established. The settlement was $1.6 million. The amount included compensatory damages for constitutional violations, property damage to the door, and substantial punitive damages calculated to send a message about warrantless home entries. Walsh was terminated. Santos received a 30-day suspension. The police chief issued a public apology to Judge Richardson and implemented mandatory Fourth Amendment training for all officers. Judge Richardson donated a portion of the settlement to civil rights organizations defending citizens against unlawful searches. The settlement triggered immediate policy changes across Richmond Police Department and neighboring jurisdictions. Richmond implemented strict protocols for residential entries. Officers must verify complaint addresses before making contact. Supervisory approval required for any forced entry absent immediate danger to life. Mandatory consultation with legal advisors for entries based solely on anonymous complaints. The department installed address verification systems in patrol cars. GPS coordinates cross-referenced with dispatch addresses. Automated alerts when officers arrive at addresses different from reported complaints. Virginia's Police Training Academy added Judge Richardson's case to constitutional law curriculum. The body camera footage became required viewing. A case study in how assumptions and failure to verify could create catastrophic civil rights violations. Other federal judges in Virginia began documenting similar encounters. The case empowered judicial officers to assert their authority when law enforcement overstepped. Several complaints were filed following Richardson's precedent, leading to broader reforms. Judge Richardson returned to the bench, her authority enhanced rather than diminished. Defense attorneys cited her case in suppression motions. Prosecutors used it to train officers on proper entry procedures. Her opinions on Fourth Amendment issues carried additional weight, backed by personal experience with violations. The door to her home was repaired and reinforced, security upgraded, but the experience remained permanent. A federal judge subjected to the same constitutional violations she'd spent her career preventing and remedying. Judge Richardson's case answered one question with clarity. A warrantless home entry based on an unverified complaint plus an officer who assumed a black woman couldn't be a federal judge equals $1.6 million and terminated employment. But harder questions persist. How many others have had their homes violated without the legal knowledge to fight back? How many officers assume credentials don't exist because of who they're looking at? The footage still exists. Multiple cameras, multiple angles, perfect documentation. But documentation requires people willing to demand accountability. Officers willing to verify before violating. A society willing to recognize that constitutional rights protect everyone equally, regardless of assumptions about who they are. Judge Richardson knew the law, had the credentials, had the evidence, still had her door forced open at midnight. If you believe homes require warrants, if you believe constitutional rights aren't optional, if you believe judges and citizens alike deserve Fourth Amendment protection, subscribe. Because accountability demands witnesses. Justice requires refusing to accept that badges justify unlawful entry into American homes.